So what you've got on the left is a WebVR demo that I created through A-Frame. And this is a framework that basically allows anyone with web dev skills, for instance, HTML or JS or CSS style language skills to build a VR experience really easily. On the right, we've got a controller page which can be run on the desktop or another phone that's connected to the same network, or alternatively, you can also use Firebase to set up your conduit, which is basically passing all the input data from the controller page, which is this page, to the viewer, which is that page. Um, Basically, what the point of this demo was is to outline some of the interactions that might happen between two devices, one which is the viewer on the left and then the controller on the right. So I've got this controller set up right now under angular mode, and what that means is I can draw circles in it and it'll detect every single time that I draw um, a 360 degrees circle or arc with my fingers, and that triggers an event in the viewer, which corresponds to something I'll show you in a minute. You can see here there's other settings that we don't need to play with for now. All we need to know that we're transmitting Angular data to the viewer. So ideally, what you would have is you'd have the viewer on the left running on one phone, and then the controller on the right running on another device. So the one on the right could be anything from a desktop to another phone to just any sort of device that can transmit that kind of signal that is needed through the network, um, which is then passed on to the viewer on the left. So you can see that I've got it mirrored up here to reflect the head tracking that I would have on an iPhone. And this is actually running on an iPhone right now. So you can see if I rotate it, I can sort of catch all four corners of this room here. Um, and the point of this was basically there was an app called Bubbly on iOS, which I downloaded. And this made it really easy to make a cube map of anywhere without having a real 360 degrees camera. And then I subsequently ripped those images from the service and basically just pasted them in here so that I'd have an image of my very messy flat that I'd need to clean up. And the point of this is um, how do I draw the floor plan for this particular room in my flat so that I can have an actual 3D geometry for a room which I want to maybe add some stuff to. Because without knowing that information, I can't start putting 3D models on top of this image because it's just a static image. So the point of this is to draw the outline of the boundaries of this room, a very rough one. And so you can see if I move the head tracking viewer around, it will shoot out a ray from where you're looking at if you were viewing it in cardboard mode, and the ray hits a plane which is very, very large, and that sets an artificial perspective for how close or how far something should be relative to the image that you can see of all the chairs and the boxes, because that contains no real 3D info. It's just a 2D image that's been cube mapped. So the thing that I wanted to show you is basically you can start creating polygons by looking at a corner that you want to have as a vertex in your floor plan, and then just start drawing an arc with it. And you can see here I've laid the first vertex out of four of a floor plan. And I don't know if you caught that the first time, but there is audio feedback as well for this demo. So if you start drawing an arc, it can sort of give you feedback to how far you need to draw that arc to complete the action. So um, there is continuous sort of noise as you're doing it before you've hit the point where it recognizes you've drawn a full 360 degrees arc. So if I look over here, I want to have the corner of my one of the corners of my room be that thing, and it's kind of awkward because I'm actually having to look over there right now. A bit inaccurate because I had to uh, look in another direction as my computer is facing, but let's see if I can do this for the fourth corner of my room. So that should be all the way over here, and that's just right there. So now that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 corners of my room, I can complete the action one more time to draw the actual boundaries for this room. And there we go. So we've got a rough set of boundaries for adding possible 3D models or other sort of furnishings on top of this cube map now that we've given it an arbitrary perspective.